As a filmmaker and content creator, the thing that slows me down, my personal bottleneck, is the editing process. I am forever on the lookout for anything that could help me speed that up and turn around my work quicker, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. It is the Loupedeck creator tool, the Loupedeck CT, and this thing can help you speed up your workflow and your editing process very, very easily. I'm going to be showing you a little behind the scenes on an edit that I've been working on recently, and I'm going to show you how I would edit it on the Loupedeck CT to speed up my process, as well as show you guys a couple of little tricks and techniques that I'm going to be doing throughout my edit. So first things first, you'll notice that this thing is going to be compatible with more than just Premiere. It's going to be compatible with Lightroom if you guys want to grade any of your photos. It's also going to be able to be used in Photoshop, After Effects, and a bunch of other software that I don't really use. For today's video, we're going to be using it in Premiere for the most part. You can see that right off the bat, when you guys open this, you can pick your different workspaces. The first workspace is going to be the editing workspace by hitting number 1, and you can toggle through them, going to your color grading workspace and your audio workspace. Another thing to keep in mind is that this whole thing is completely customizable, and you guys can set it up however you want and whatever is going to be most beneficial for the way that you edit your videos. For me personally, I really like it the way that it is. I can head to my editing panel and I can start cutting through some of my footage. Now, the first thing that I'll do is something that I just like to do with my videos so I can see what's going on, is if I head over to number 3, I can actually make my video track a lot bigger, and I can also make my audio track a bit bigger. I'll head back to my editing tab, and now I can start cutting through this footage. All of these dials have their own different little tools. You can swipe through here to get any more tools that you might want, otherwise you can select on here. So for example, if I wanted to add text or something like that, I could just go to Tools, hit Text, and it would add that text. I can go back to my editing basics, and I'm gonna start cutting this footage up very basically and just showing you guys how I would use this to speed up my process of cutting through this footage. First things first, I can use this control wheel to shuttle through my footage. I can also hit play and see where I might want to be. Then once I want to cut that or edit it, I can hit ripple start and it's going to delete it off. And likewise, if I wanted to cut the end of this clip, I can hit ripple end. I have this gap, I can hit ripple delete, and that's going to take that gap away. So I could very quickly and easily go through this whole video, cutting the bits that I want, cutting off the tails that I don't need. Maybe I don't want that clip, I can delete it altogether and then ripple delete the gap, take that out, little short clips. And it makes it so much easier than messing around with keyboard shortcuts and having to push all the different like keyboard combos and holding control and different ones. This is so easy. My one hand just stays here and does it all with your left hand. So another thing that I really like about this, especially as a Premiere user, is hitting save right there, because you might get a lot of Premiere crashes. And a couple of other cool things is I can hit undo if I made a mistake, hit save, and there are a few other cool tools here like skipping frame by frame, otherwise moving to the beginning or end of your edit. I can use these dials to zoom in and out. Something really useful about how this is all set up is you can actually open the Loupedeck control panel here, and you can change each one of these buttons to be whatever you want. You can just click, drag these off to the side, and you can find in the sidebar here and add any new button that you want to customize this to work exactly the way that you want it. That is super useful, and it means that however you guys like to work in your project, you can set it up to suit you best. Once I've worked through all of my footage and I'm happy with the way that my edit is looking, I can move on to the color grading process, which is, in my opinion, somewhere where this really shines. So we can hit 2 and head over to the color panel, drop in an adjustment layer so that I can apply my color grade to this adjustment layer. So now my whole workspace has changed to the color grading panel. You have each one of these dials can control the different aspects on Premiere, and you can also scroll down to have more of these controls, and these are all touchscreen, which is really nice. We can head back to the top and we can start working through our edit. Right now we are in the creative panel, but I actually want to start in the basic tab, and that's how I like to work through my color grading process, is go through it in that order. Now I could start adjusting things however I want. I could just start adjusting my white balance to make this footage look a bit warmer. Let's head to this clip, make it a bit warmer. If I wanted to, then I could go to my whites, take them down a bit. Saturation, let's put it up a little bit. Take my blacks down, contrast up, tint I'm gonna leave just the same. And if you guys ever want to reset anything, you can click these buttons in and it puts them back to normal. I can also hit this basic corrections wheel to adjust my shadows and highlights. I want to just lift my shadows up a little bit because this was shot quite backlit, and I will also just lower my highlights. Once we are done with that, we can head to our creative corrections. We are just gonna add a LUT, and if you guys want to check out my LUTs, they are down in the description, and they are also 25% off. I use these LUTs in every single one of my videos. Once I have applied my LUT, they are usually too strong with any LUTs that you guys will use, so you can change the intensity right here, and we can also change some of our other things like our sharpening, our saturation, our vibrance. We can head over to our shadow tints, and we could add more blue into our shadows, head over to the highlights and add more warm tones into our highlights. This is obviously just an example, and this clip is looking absolutely terrible. I'm just showing you guys how you could work through and the things that you could be doing here to speed up that process. Don't color grade like this. Doesn't look very good. This is just an example. Once we've added those in, we can head back here and we can head to any other color grading aspects that we want. We could head to our curves, we could head back and maybe add a vignette, and we can choose the different settings that we might have. So we could add that vignette, we could change the roundness, the midpoint and the feather, make it however we want it, all from in here. Another really great aspect about this, and especially for when you guys are color grading, is you can actually hit this into full screen, and now you can see your entire image without everything that's going to be distracting you, and still work through with the Loupedeck CT without having to see any of the controls in Premiere, and we can still change everything however we want. That is super, super valuable, and unless you guys have like a big dual monitor setup, this is the only other way that you guys are gonna do that. Once we are done with our color grade and we are happy with that, we could throw some audio in. Maybe we would have a much more complicated timeline in real life, and we would have a bunch of sound effects. We can head to number 3, which is gonna be our sound panel, and we can start editing all of our sound. Something that we can do is add a transition, a little fade in here, and we could do that for all of our sound effects so that they overlapped nicely and they didn't just come in too hard. That would be really useful. We can also set the volume of our different sound effects to make sure that they aren't overpowering but still being heard by the viewer. This is obviously a music track and we wouldn't want to make it that loud. Once we are done with that and we are happy with how our edit is looking, we can set our in-out points by hitting 4 and 5. We can head back to editing, go to project, and we can hit export media. That's gonna bring up our export panel. We can export our media. It really just like streamlines everything. You're hitting one button instead of clicking on different menus and getting like drop-down menus and going to this thing and that thing. It's so simple and streamlined. And again, you guys can completely customize this to however you want it and however you think it's gonna work best for you. So as you can see, as I work through this, once you start to get the hang of this, it's really gonna help you. This thing like almost becomes an extension of your hand, and you can just edit super fast rather than trying to hit all these different buttons on your keyboard. If you guys are looking to speed up your workflow and your process, just make it a little bit easier for yourself, check out the Loupedeck CT. I'm gonna leave the link down in the description. This is a really cool product, and I think this can really help us creators to just move through our work faster. These days, especially with like being a YouTuber or something like that, you have to turn over your content so quickly that editing becomes such a bottleneck and is the like massive slowdown point for me personally, at least. And I'm always looking out for anything that can help me get through those edits much faster. This is the most effective way that I've found that you guys can do that. I've tried setting up a bunch of custom keys on my keyboard, which kind of works, but it doesn't work nearly as well as actually having everything here. And you will undoubtedly be able to edit much faster once you get the hang of this. Remember, I'm gonna leave it down in the description if you guys wanna check it out. That is gonna be all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned some new things about editing, and I will see you guys in the next one.